Hey, how's it going? Today I'll be reading from an ebook. I wrote this ebook for people who have come from really bad childhoods, people with trauma, people from abuse, and people who feel like they're not all alone in this world. My original title of this book was The World That Wasn't Meant for Us, because I feel like a lot of people with trauma, abuse, and mental illness, or come from a home with parents with mental illness, feel like this world wasn't meant for us because we feel alone and we don't feel whole inside. We feel kind of empty, and we kind of have a lot more depression than most people, I feel, and we also get triggered than most people. Okay, here we go. This is from chapter 3. Number 1, these are the feelings and the thoughts that never really leave me. Number 1, I think no one wants me around. The other morning... Oh, really? Cool. The other morning, number 1, I think no one wants me around. The other morning, I wanted to go see my family because I missed my little niece. And I said to myself, Joe, your family doesn't want you around. And then I started crying. Number 2, I always feel like I'm going to upset people, or I always feel like I'm going to get yelled at. So I am very quick to cry, and I always feel nervous and shaky. My hands shake. I think this feeling of upsetting people or being yelled at is why I like being alone. I'm scared of people sometimes, and I'm very critical of myself and hard on myself about what I said to someone because I have been rejected so many times throughout my life. I am also really hard on myself because I have been told that I was doing something wrong so many times in my life. It seems like when I think I'm doing something right, or when I feel like I'm behaving right, I'm told the next day by people that I was acting inappropriately, or I was saying really messed up things that most average people don't say. So I don't really understand how I should be, and I'm really confused. And it seems like whenever I get happy, people distance themselves from me, or start to make fun of me, or abuse me. So happy doesn't work because I'm too happy when I get happy. So I'm rejected again because I was happy. So then I become suicidal because I allowed myself to get too happy. And then I start to think about killing the people who just rejected me for being happy. So what am I supposed to be? How am I supposed to act? I'm so confused. I really just want to die. And I am really starting to dislike average people who don't understand me or look at me like I'm crazy. I'm really starting to dislike being rejected, and I'm thinking about killing average people who are not like me more and more. Me wanting to kill average people is something I could feel happening deep within me, and that could be problematic. I will most likely kill myself before I start killing people, but right now, I'm not sure. Number 3, I try to not get angry, but I get angry so quickly, and I just lose myself. I tell myself all the time, anger and hatred will only get you so far in this life, but then anger will slowly destroy your life, and you will lose everyone you love. But even if I tell myself that anger will destroy me and my life, I keep getting angry. And every time I get angry or yell at people, those people I get angry at or that I yell at leave me. I don't blame anyone for not wanting to be around me because I am an angry person. Still, I feel like all it takes is to get angry once and people leave me because I am so scary when I get angry that people think that there's something wrong with me. When an average person gets angry, they are forgiven and let back into the group. But I am so scary to people when I get angry that I am always exiled from the group, or I always get fired from my job. I have to always be so perfect all the time, and if I am not perfect, people tend to leave me, or I am always asked to leave. The fact that I have to be perfect all the time, or people will leave me, frustrates me. For people with borderline personality disorder, bipolar disorder, people who are psychopathic, sociopathic, and people who are narcissistic, you could have those problems as well with anger and people being scared of you. So the pressure to be, especially for people that are bipolar and BPD, because we fluctuate so much. Like this morning I filmed a video and I was like super hypermanic, and now I'm really calm. So it's really difficult to be the same person all the time. And that's when people think that there's something wrong with us, and that's when people distance themselves from us, because they're like, there's something wrong with this person. This morning they were so happy, it was insane. They were manic. They couldn't even speak, and now they're calm. Or then they're angry. So for a lot of us with bipolar disorder, BPD, we jump from different stages of happiness to anger to depression, to suicidal depression, back to extremely happy, then to angry, and a lot of it has to do with trauma. I mean, you could listen to Gabor Mate about that one, and Richard Schwartz and everybody else in the trauma world, and they'll all tell you, something just didn't go right with us, and now we have to live with it for the rest of our lives, unless we really do the work. I do the work constantly. Every morning I wake up and it's time to go to work, because if you come from trauma, you have to understand that it is a second job to heal from trauma. You have to work on it every day. You have to wake up every day and be on your game. I wake up every morning and I watch about an hour to 3 hours worth of psychology and spirituality videos just to get myself level. And I have to follow routines. I have to eat the right food. I have to exercise every day, because if I don't follow these things, I become sleep deprived, and then I become manic, and then I become angry, and then I become crazy. And people are very, very scared of that person. So I can't be that person. So I have to follow this strict routine, this routine scheduled life. I can only eat certain foods. It gets to the point where you're no longer allowed to live, and you just live a half-life. That's a BPD thing. We live half-lives where we can't function like average people. We're not high-functioning people. Most of us, I don't want to say all of us. But we're so low-functioning because of the depression and the angry outburst and the rage and the extreme happiness levels that people, we're not predictable people, and people like predictable people. So people tend to distance themselves from us, or we get fired at jobs for our rage or our paranoia or our delusional paranoia. And we can't make enough money to afford nice houses and cars and get a suitable wife or a husband, because we can't keep it up. We can't keep it up for long enough to make enough money without getting fired or without getting excluded from a group. People always realize that there's something wrong with us after a while, and then they just tell us, like, they stop texting us or they stop calling us, because they're like, that person doesn't pass the test. And what is the test? The test is being the same person all the time, where people aren't afraid of you. And the problem is when you come from trauma, like we do, or severe depression, or poverty, we're never really quite accepted. And that goes from preschool to kindergarten to the looks that we got from, the mothers on the playground when we were 2 and 3 years old, all the way up until high school, and then until adulthood. Because their tribe, the average person tribe, does not want to be around us because we scare them. I'm not saying everybody. And then you could go on meds, but then you might look like a zombie all the time and you can't even get out of bed. Or it might have other reverse effects. I remember I was on these one meds where I couldn't even be out in the sun. I had to avoid sunlight. It's weird, man. It's like we're all vampires.